definitely getting my steps in today. I'm just back and forth and back and forth. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce our speaker for this morning, Miss Keeley Kimball, who is a lifetime member of this church, I think. She's graduating this year. Has graduated? Did you graduate yet? No, okay. She's going to. Don't worry. Don't worry, guys. So Keeley has taken upon herself this past year to become a member of the outreach board. We don't frequently have youth on our boards, but it's going to happen more and more frequently because she's set really just a wonderful example for participating and being fully involved in the church. She was also Mary in the Christmas pageant this past year, so I trusted her with my child. That should say enough. Just as sort of an aside, too, she, as being a member of Outreach, there's an organization that's very near and dear to her heart, Simply Smiles, and on behalf of Keeley, in her name, Outreach Board is going to be donating $250 to Simply Smiles as a thank you, and as just, it's a great organization, too. So, I've talked more than enough today, so Keeley, please come save me.
Good morning. My name is Keeley Kimball, and I'm a senior at Avon High School. I've been going to this church since I was around 2 years old, and most of you here have watched me grow into the person I am today. Throughout my journey at West Avon Congregational Church, I've always wondered three things. Do we close our eyes during prayer, or do we keep them open? Do we bow our heads or look at Pastor Brian? And lastly, do we cross our fingers to pray or keep them straight up? Yes, I know these are such simple, silly questions and probably things people don't think about, but I always wondered. I always felt weird to ask my mom, dad, or Pastor Brian what the right thing to do is, so I do the awkward kind of look around and see what everyone else was doing. It wasn't until the beginning of my sophomore year of high school that I realized it doesn't matter what you pray about or how you pray, because God is always listening. Something that also hit me during this time was why I close my eyes when I pray, and why I think other people do as well. I think it can be summed up into a simple quote. Sometimes the most real things and most beautiful things in the world are things we cannot see. I sat with this quote all the way from my sophomore year till now as I went through high school. Some of those days I would be so stressed with schoolwork and wanting to quit crew, but truthfully, I turned to prayer. I've never admitted to anyone, but that's what kept me going. I think prayer is one of the most beautiful things in life that we are blessed to have. We close our eyes to pray similarly to why we close our eyes to kiss. Speaking and communicating with God and being in love with someone are two of the biggest gifts we are given during our time on earth. They are so beautiful and pure that we are not able to see them. We take time out of our day or month or whenever we have time to speak to God, whether that be asking for forgiveness, thanking Him, or asking Him for help. We close our eyes to focus on our communication with Him and not let anything distract us. Similarly, with kissing, when we kiss someone we love, we aren't focusing on what's happening around us, but only that person. It's almost as if the world stops when we pray or kiss someone. We also are not able to see God actually working on earth. We have to trust that He is. This relates to a quote I bet we all have read at least once at this church, but I don't think many people have actually thought about it. The quote is down in Fellowship Hall and reads, "God has no hands on earth but ours." It wasn't until my first mission trip to Rhode Island that I started to understand what this meant. And I'm not going to bore everyone with the same old mission trip speech, but I would just like to say that although we cannot literally see God working, we trust that He is, and that is one of the most real things in life. There are so many things in life that we are not able to see, but they are some of the most pure and beautiful times that we are blessed to have. On October 27, 2019, my mom got a call from my dad while we were at Six Flags saying that he was cleaning the gutters and fell off the ladder while getting down. We all thought he was joking or pulling a prank on us, but my mom still called my granddad to make sure everything was okay. Within 5 minutes, my granddad was at my house, and my dad was being rushed to Hartford Hospital. After countless hours of waiting, we finally got to see him before he went into his first surgery of many and the start of his long recovery process. We found out that he broke his tibia and fibia, but things were looking good and they would be able to repair it. Ryder, my mom, and I would visit regularly, and they would consist of Ryder and I making glove turkeys out of the gloves in the water in the room and playing many games. Then things took a turn for the worse. Just as we thought my dad was going to come home, he started hallucinating and not making sense. His body was going into full alcoholic detox. Yes, my dad was an alcoholic for 15 years of my life. This time included much yelling, raging out at my mom, Ryder, and me. Many of my crew races were missed because of his alcoholism. I was always afraid to bring a guy home because of him or even have my friends over. It was the constant hiding of beer cans, but it became normal to me, and most days I wouldn't even think about it. Now, you may be wondering what the point of me telling you this is about. During this time, I think I hit one of the lowest points in my life, if not the lowest. But I continued to go to church. It was the first Sunday of December, and the hope candle was lit, and Pastor Brian's sermon was about hope. It was almost as God knew what I needed to hear and saw my pain because I left church that Sunday in a different and much better mood. I kept hopeful that everything would work out with my dad, and today my dad has been sober. If it wasn't for Pastor Brian's sermon that Sunday and God truly listening to what I needed at that point in my life, I think I still would have been stuck with thoughts filling my head. If it wasn't also for prayer during that time and the ability to speak to God when no one else was listening, this time would have been a lot more challenging. I would like to end by thanking the people that have been with me along this journey, including all my Sunday school teachers and church directors, Miss G, Mrs. Doeg, Miss Morris, Miss Andrews, Mr. Welsh, and Mary Skripko. I cannot thank you enough for all that you have taught me and done for me, and I'm so happy to say that I now get to pass that gift on to the younger kids in this church, which leads me to my next point. I would like to thank all the kids I have taught and their families, including Savannah and Michael, Patrick and James, and lastly, Finley, Camden, and Austin. You guys have never failed to bring a smile to my face every Sunday morning and have made me appreciate going to church so much more. Next, I would like to thank the Nations, who were really there during my Grammy's passing, and I can always count on Craig to crack a joke during service. I would also like to thank Corinne and Albert. They have sat in front of me for many years now and always ask how I'm doing in school, and it always puts a smile on my face. It's so simple, but it truly meant a lot. I would also like to thank the buddies for always supporting me and my family throughout the years of me going to this church. I would like to thank my family, including my mom, my dad, my brother, aunts, uncles, cousins, and grandparents, for helping me along this journey and shaping me into the person I am today. Last but not least, I would like to thank Pastor Brian for everything he does and everything he has done for me. Yes, you may have seen me yawning a few times during your sermons, but some of your stuff that you have said in those sermons has truly shaped me into the person I am today. I will always remember you once made that point about the clinking of cups during communion, and still to this day, I listen for it every time we have communion. And to the people I didn't name, thank you for everything you have done. Everyone in this church has made an impact or changed my life in some way, and I am grateful for that. I will take what I have learned at West Avon Congregational Church with me as I continue my education at the University of Alabama on a pre-law track. Roll Tide.